No collar, no microchip, no one searching. When Adam found the small Rottweiler puppy trembling beneath a broken park bench, it looked like a routine rescue. But what the dog was hiding would unravel his entire world. It had started as a normal Saturday morning for Adam, a quiet warehouse worker who spent his weekends cycling along the rural outskirts of his town. The mist still clung to the grass when he paused at an old park bench to take a sip of water. That's when he heard it, barely audible whimpering, almost lost in the breeze. He scanned the area and finally spotted a bundle of black fur nestled beneath the bench, shaking. A Rottweiler puppy, no older than 10 weeks, with big brown eyes and trembling legs. Adam crouched slowly, whispering calm words. The pup didn't growl or bark, it only stared, frozen, as if unsure whether to trust or bolt. He noticed right away there was no collar. The dog was clean but thin, and despite the early chill, its small body radiated warmth. Gently, Adam scooped the puppy into his arms. The moment he did, the animal let out a soft sigh and buried its nose into his jacket. Back home, Adam set up a cozy corner with a blanket, water, and some rice and boiled chicken. The pup, whom he'd already started calling Bear, ate hesitantly, flinching at loud sounds and sudden movements. It was clear Bear hadn't been on the street long, but also hadn't been treated with care. Adam posted about the puppy on local pet forums, called shelters, even took him to the vet to check for a microchip. Nothing. The vet confirmed what Adam had feared. No chip, no ID, just a young Rottweiler, perfectly healthy, but likely abandoned, or worse, discarded. As days passed, Bear began to open up. He followed Adam everywhere, slept curled against his leg, and flinched less with every passing hour. It felt like the beginning of something good, something healing for both of them. But then, a week later, something happened that shattered that peace. Bear, still so small, did something that stopped Adam cold. He recognized a scent, one Adam hadn't smelled in a long time. And the place where that scent led them held a secret neither man nor dog could have expected. Adam couldn't shake the moment from his mind. It happened one early evening, just after sunset. Bear had been growing stronger by the day, walking a little farther, playing a little longer. That night, Adam had taken him for their usual walk through the wooded path behind his apartment. The air was crisp, the sky softening to shades of blue and violet. Adam was thinking about nothing in particular when Bear suddenly froze. One paw suspended mid-step, nose twitching furiously. Then he bolted. "Bear, no! Hey!" Adam shouted, heart lurching. The leash snapped taut in his hand, but Bear wasn't tugging to play. He was pulling with purpose, muscles straining towards something only he could sense. Adam followed, tugging gently, trying to calm the puppy, but Bear wouldn't be swayed. It wasn't panic. It was focus. Then Adam smelled it. Cigarette smoke. Faint, but familiar in the worst way. He hadn't smelled that brand, cheap, acrid, with a sour undertone, in nearly a year, not since he left the job that nearly broke him. His thoughts scrambled. That smoke had always clung to the coat of one man in particular, Clive Rourke. Ex-security contractor, black market supplier, the man Adam had once worked under during a stint in industrial surveillance, a man who operated on blurred moral lines. Adam had quit after a particular assignment had ended in a violent confrontation, one that left a young woman missing and several employees, including Clive, under investigation. The case had quietly been dropped. The girl had never been found, and Adam had walked away, wanting nothing more to do with that world. But Bear's nose was locked in, dragging Adam off the path and toward an old maintenance road that led into a restricted area near the industrial park. The scent was stronger now. Cigarettes, metal, engine oil. The puppy was practically quivering. Adam hesitated at the old chain-link fence marking the boundary. It was padlocked, long rusted, with a broken no trespassing sign hanging by one corner. Bear pawed at the gate, whining now, urging, begging. Adam crouched and held the dog's face gently. "What are you trying to tell me, buddy?" Bear looked up at him, eyes wide, then barked. Once, sharp, urgent. It was the first bark Adam had heard since he rescued him. Adrenaline surged through his veins. Something about the look in Bear's eyes made Adam's skin prickle. He checked the area. No cameras, no lights. then scaled the fence with the dog tucked in his jacket. They followed the scent down a gravel path, half swallowed by weeds, past rusting sheds and storage containers. Bear led the way, nose twitching, until they reached a green prefab trailer with blacked-out windows. A faint glow bled from under the door, and again, cigarette smoke. Someone was inside. Adam crouched low, straining to listen. Muffled voices. 2 men, one older, one younger. "She's too much trouble now. I told you we shouldn't have taken her in the first place." The other voice snapped back. "We were supposed to move her last week. You said the truck was ready." Adam's heart thudded. He couldn't breathe. Was this real? Another girl? Bear let out a low, breathy whimper. Adam backed away, pulse hammering. He needed proof. He needed help. He fumbled for his phone. Dead. He cursed under his breath. The battery had been low since earlier that afternoon. He hadn't charged it before the walk. A loud bang startled him. The trailer door creaked. Voices louder now. Adam grabbed Bear and sprinted into the brush, ducking behind a shipping container as 2 men stepped out into the night. One was definitely Clive. The other, he didn't recognize. Adam waited, barely breathing, until their voices faded down the path. Then he slipped back toward the trailer, heart racing. The door was ajar. Inside, it was dark and stuffy. The room stank of smoke and something else. Sweat, maybe fear. Bear whimpered again, but stayed close. That's when Adam heard it. A muffled sob. From the far side of the trailer, behind a metal door bolted with a latch. "Hello?" he whispered. Another whimper, this time human. Adam's hands moved before his brain caught up. He released the latch and slowly pushed open the door. And what he saw inside made his blood run cold. A girl, no older than 15, curled on a thin mattress, eyes swollen from crying, wrists red from struggling against cloth restraints. She looked up at him, startled. Who are you?" "My name's Adam," he whispered, voice shaking. "I'm here to help you. Are you hurt?" She shook her head, stunned, then burst into tears. Behind him, Bear whimpered again, quiet but resolute. Adam's mind was reeling. What had he stumbled into? Why did Bear lead him here? And how deep did this go? One thing was certain. This wasn't just about a lost puppy anymore. Bear hadn't been abandoned. He'd been running from something. And now, Adam was neck-deep in a secret that someone would do anything to keep buried. Adam stood frozen in the doorway, heart thudding in his ears. The dim light inside the trailer flickered slightly, casting shadows across the small, makeshift cell. The girl, her wrists raw, her clothing disheveled, stared back at him, lips trembling, unsure whether to scream or collapse in relief. Bear stood at Adam's feet, ears pinned back, his low whine the only sound cutting through the tense silence. Adam moved first, slowly, gently. "It's okay," he whispered, crouching low to appear less threatening. "I'm not one of them, I promise." The girl nodded faintly, but her wide eyes stayed locked on his. Trust wouldn't come easily. He didn't expect it to. She had every reason to be afraid. Adam noticed the restraint ties had already been loosened, probably by her own hands. He stepped forward cautiously and knelt beside her. "I'm going to get you out of here. But we have to move now." The girl nodded again, this time faster. "What's your name?" he asked, gently helping her sit up. "Emily," she whispered. "I've been here. I don't know. Maybe a week." Adam's stomach churned. Clive and his accomplice had been keeping her in this metal box for days. And if they were talking about moving her, the clock had nearly run out. Without Bear, she might have vanished without a trace, just like the girl from a year ago. But why was Bear drawn to this place? He didn't have time to think it through. Adam quickly scanned the trailer for anything Emily might need. A tattered backpack sat in the corner. He grabbed it, stuffed it with the girl's shoes, a water bottle, and a thin blanket. Then, lifting Emily gently, he motioned to Bear, who padded ahead of them toward the door. Outside, the night was still. No sign of Clive or the other man yet. They moved fast, Adam carrying Emily part of the way when her legs gave out. Bear led the path, retracing their steps through the overgrown lot, guiding them toward the spot where Adam had first entered. The adrenaline kept them moving. But Adam's mind was already 3 steps ahead. He couldn't go to the police, not yet, not without proof, not with Clive's connections. Last time, everything had vanished. Records, statements, even the girl's identity. This time had to be different. They reached the fence. Adam helped Emily over first, then carefully passed Bear through a gap in the chain. He climbed last, adrenaline pushing him through the pain as the old wire scraped his arms. Back at his apartment, he locked every bolt on the door and dimmed the lights. Emily collapsed onto the couch, Bear curling up right beside her without hesitation. She wrapped her fingers into his fur, and for the first time since Adam found him, Bear didn't flinch from a stranger's touch. Adam handed her water and a granola bar while he pulled out his old burner phone, a remnant from the surveillance days. It still worked. He made a single call. "Max, it's Adam. I need a favor, a big one." Max Corwin had been Adam's former partner, before the surveillance firm went sideways. Max now worked private gigs, mainly for lawyers and journalists. If anyone could help get this story out without interference, it was him. "Talk to me," Max said, tone instantly serious. Adam laid it all out, the puppy, the trailer, Clive, the girl. Max didn't interrupt once. "Send me your location. I'll be there by morning. And Adam," he added, "if Clive's involved again, don't sleep." Adam didn't plan to. That night, while Emily slept, Bear nestled beside her like a guardian, Adam scoured his apartment for the old equipment he had stashed away, hidden camera glasses, a micro recorder, spare batteries. Max would bring more, but Adam wanted to be ready. If Clive came back looking for the girl or the dog, Adam needed leverage. He sat across from them in the dark, Bear's soft snores the only sound in the apartment. The more he watched the puppy rest, the more the pieces clicked. Bear hadn't just stumbled into that park, he hadn't been lost. He'd escaped. From them. From Clive. Maybe even from the trailer where Emily had been kept. And if Bear had once belonged to those men, then he carried more than just emotional scars. He carried memories, habits, associations, scents, patterns, and he'd used all of them to lead Adam to Emily. What kind of puppy does that? Adam looked at Bear in the low light, realization tightening in his chest. This little dog wasn't just lucky, he was loyal, intelligent, deliberate. Someone had underestimated him, someone who would be coming back to clean up the mess. And when they did, they'd discover Bear wasn't the weak link they'd assumed. He was the one who broke everything open. The knock came just before sunrise. 3 soft raps, measured, deliberate. Adam froze mid-sip of coffee, his old instincts flaring to life. He glanced toward the couch where Emily and Bear still slept. The girl's breathing was shallow, steady. Bear's head lifted the moment the knock echoed through the apartment, ears perked, tail stiff. Adam stood and moved quietly to the peephole. Max. He unlocked the door and let him in without a word. Max looked older than Adam remembered, more grey in the beard, deeper lines around his eyes, but the same no-nonsense presence. He stepped inside, carrying a small duffel and a thick manila folder. "She's here?" Max asked softly. Adam nodded toward the couch. "Emily?" Max's eyes flicked to the sleeping girl and then to the puppy curled against her side. "That the dog?" "That's Bear," Adam said. "He found her." Max raised an eyebrow. "Found her?" Adam recounted everything, how he found Bear, the scent, the trailer, the voices, the girl. Max didn't interrupt. He simply paced, occasionally nodding, occasionally frowning. When Adam finished, Max knelt beside Bear and held out a hand. Bear sniffed it cautiously, then gave a single approving tail thump. "You weren't wrong," Max said finally. "This dog's got a story." From the duffel, Max pulled out a tablet, a microphone, a USB recorder, and 2 pen cameras. He handed Adam one. "And we need eyes on that trailer, and ears on Clive." Adam nodded, already slipping the camera into his jacket pocket. "I've got old entry points mapped." Max opened the folder. "And you'll want to see this... that girl? Emily Bennett. Reported missing 6 days ago from Clear Lake, 3 counties over. Parents were interviewed. Said she was last seen leaving her part-time job at a local vet clinic." Adam's stomach sank. "You're sure?" "Positive. I pulled her file. And guess who just purchased a warehouse lease outside Clear Lake last month?" Adam didn't need to ask. Max pulled up the document. Clive Rourke's signature was right there. "Whatever this is," Max said, "it's not isolated." They both knew what that meant. Emily wasn't the first. She might not even be the last. Adam's hands clenched at the thought. Bear let out a soft growl, just a breath of noise, but enough to make both men turn. Emily stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. When she saw Max, she bolted upright, instinctively reaching to protect Bear. "It's okay," Adam said, kneeling beside her. "He's a friend. He's here to help." Max gave a gentle nod. "Hi, Emily. My name is Max. I'm going to make sure no one ever puts you back in that place again, but I need your help." Emily's eyes searched his face for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. They let her eat, drink, and regain some strength. Then Max turned on the recorder and gently asked her to tell her story. What she said made Adam's blood run cold. She described the man with the scar, Clive. Said he'd offered her a job taking care of dogs at a training facility. He seemed nice at first, promised good pay. She was invited to see the place. She never came home. "They drugged me the first night," she said, voice shaking. "Then they kept me locked up. I think they were moving someone else out the day before I arrived. I heard shouting, barking. Then it got quiet." She looked at Bear. "I think he escaped when they weren't paying attention." Bear's tail twitched. They were furious, said he'd cost them too much. Max and Adam exchanged a look. Bear hadn't just escaped. He'd run for help. And somehow, someway, he'd found Adam. The question was, why? "Do you remember anything about what they were doing there?" Max asked gently. "Anything they said, people they mentioned?" Emily hesitated. "There was one guy, younger, nervous. He said Clive was behind on his shipment. He kept saying, 'We can't keep her much longer. I think they were planning to sell me.'" Adam turned away, fists clenched. Max closed the file. "We have enough." "What now?" Adam asked. "We go back," Max said. "We document everything. If there's evidence, if they're still operating, we get it on record. We turn it over to the right people. Quietly, carefully. I'll work my channels. But we can't let this disappear again." Adam looked at Bear, then at Emily. "No," he said. "We won't." Bear's ears perked. His gaze locked on Adam as if to say, "I'm ready." That night they made a plan. Max would monitor comms from a safe house a mile out. Adam would return to the trailer site and document everything. Footage, license plates, voice recordings, anything that could tie Clive and his operation to Emily's disappearance. If Clive showed up, they'd have visual confirmation. If other victims were present, Adam would alert Max immediately and call in trusted contacts through back channels Max had spent years building. Emily would stay behind, guarded by Bear. That was non-negotiable. At first, she protested. She didn't want to be alone. But Bear padded up, placed his paw on her knee, and looked into her eyes. She reached down, fingers trembling, and stroked the top of his head. "I'll be okay," she whispered, as if telling herself as much as anyone else. Max left with a burner phone and comms laptop. Adam packed the pen camera, the micro recorder, a flashlight with red beam, and an old vest from his surveillance days. Black, light, and silent. By midnight, Adam was back in the brush near the industrial zone. The air smelled of damp metal and pine needles. The gravel path was unchanged. The prefab trailer still parked like a wound on the landscape. No lights, no sound, but something about it felt different, calmer, as if the chaos had temporarily receded. He crept forward, heart steady. He moved like he used to, back when he was trained to disappear into the dark. But this wasn't some sterile stakeout. This was personal. Near the trailer, Adam crouched behind an overturned storage crate. From here, he had a partial view of the trailer's door and one of the windows, still blacked out. He tapped his earpiece. "I'm in position," Max's voice crackled back. "Copy. Perimeter is clear. Tracker pinged Clive's truck heading this direction 30 minutes ago. He should be there soon. Camera rolling." "Rolling." Adam glanced down. The pen camera in his pocket was live, so was the recorder clipped inside his vest. Everything was time-stamped. Everything would be backed up. Minutes passed, then headlights. A dull rumble approached, and a black pickup turned off the main road, slowing as it crunched over the gravel path. It rolled to a stop beside the trailer. 2 men stepped out. Clive, and the younger guy from before, the one with the nervous twitch and the constant glancing. Adam's breath locked in his throat as he activated the mic. They were speaking low but clear enough. "Can't risk another screw-up," Clive was saying. "We moved the new one tonight. You got the container ready?" The other man nodded. Yeah. But what if someone saw us last time? That girl, she was gone, man, just gone." "She didn't walk out on her own," Clive snapped. "Somebody helped her. I'll deal with it." Adam's stomach twisted. They didn't know yet. They thought the girl had simply vanished. Clive lit a cigarette, the glow briefly illuminating his face. "I told you this was the last batch. After this, we're shutting it down. Too much heat. Too many eyes." "Then what about the dog?" the younger man asked. Clive's answer came with a dark chuckle. "He was an accident. Should have drowned him when he bit through the cage. What idiot thought Rottweilers were good for scent tracking anyway?" Adam froze. They'd trained Bear. He hadn't been a stray. He'd been one of theirs. Conditioned. Taught to track. Used and discarded when he disobeyed. Clive exhaled, the smoke curling into the night air. "Let's just load up and go. I'll torch the place when we're done." Adam tapped his mic. "Max, recordings live. They're confirming everything." "Copy," Max said. "Keep feeding it." "We'll route it to the reporter in 40. Adam shifted, angling the pen camera toward the truck. Clive opened the trailer door. "Grab the girl," he said. "No one's in there," the younger man cried. "She's gone, I told you." "What?" The light inside snapped on. Clive disappeared into the trailer. A beat later, a guttural scream erupted from inside, followed by a string of curses and crashing metal. "She's gone." Adam ducked, whispering into the mic. "They just realized she escaped." "Get out of there," Max ordered. "They'll start sweeping the area. I need a few more shots. Give me 60 seconds. Adam slipped around the side, capturing footage of the license plate, the truck's rear compartment, and the trailer's broken lock. Everything pointed to trafficking. It would be enough. Then a sound behind him, twigs snapping. He spun, heart hammering, the younger man eyes wide, mouth slightly open. They locked eyes, and the man reached for something in his waistband. Adam didn't wait. He lunged, slamming the man into the trailer with a thud. The weapon, a small revolver, clattered to the ground. Adam drove his knee into the man's side, disarmed him, and pinned his wrist with a twist. From inside the trailer, Clive shouted, "Reggie?" Footsteps, fast, angry. Adam released the man, grabbed the revolver, and sprinted back into the trees, adrenaline carrying him into the night. Branches whipped his face. The revolver was heavy in his palm. Behind him, Clive's voice bellowed, "I will find you." Adam didn't stop running until the trailer was a ghost in the trees. He tapped his mic. "Got the proof. I'm out." Max responded instantly. "I'm redirecting. Meet me back at base." Adam glanced down at the revolver, at the dirt and blood on his hands, and at the memory of Bear's wide brown eyes, leading him here, leading him back. Adam burst through the safe-house door, lungs burning, heart still in overdrive. Max looked up from the laptop screen, immediately noting the revolver in Adam's hand and the sweat pouring down his face. "You were made," Max said flatly. Adam nodded, tossed the weapon on the table. "One of Clive's guys saw me. I got away clean, but it's done. They know someone was watching." Max pushed a towel across the table. "Wipe your face." "And sit down." Adam did, barely registering the sting of fresh scrapes along his arm. Max slid the laptop around. The screen displayed a live feed, Emily's testimony, the audio from Adam's vest mic, and the trailer footage stitched into a timeline, every second tagged and watermarked. There was even a slow zoom on Clive's face, his voice recorded crystal clear as he uttered the words, "We move the new one tonight." "This is enough," Max said. "This is how we burn him down." Adam leaned back, exhausted. "Then we go to the cops." "No," Max replied firmly. "We go to the press and federal contacts. Local PD's been compromised before, remember? They buried the first girl's report. We take this straight to the top." I've got a reporter who's been investigating trafficking along the highway corridor. She's going to love this." Adam looked toward the adjacent room where Emily and Bear were curled up asleep again, the dog nestled close, eyes fluttering in a half-dream. Despite everything, Bear remained calm, as if some part of him understood they were close to justice. "Does she know?" Adam asked. "Emily?" Max shook his head. "Only that we're doing everything we can." "I meant Bear," Adam said, almost to himself. "He's not just a smart pup. He knew where to go, who to trust. He never barked at her, never flinched when she got close." "It's like he recognized her pain." Max followed his gaze. "He's seen more than any animal should." Adam stared at the dog for a long moment. They used him, conditioned him, probably trained him to track victims or locations. But he turned on them. "He made a choice," Max added, "one that saved that girl's life." Adam stood and moved to the threshold of the other room. Emily stirred slightly, mumbling in her sleep. Bear opened one eye, caught Adam's gaze, and gave a slow, deliberate tail wag. That single movement said more than any bark ever could. By noon, Max's contact in the press, Camille Ruiz, an investigative reporter for a national outlet, had reviewed the files. She didn't even wait for a callback. "This runs Monday," she said through Max's speakerphone. "I want exclusive footage, names, timeline. We'll file a Freedom of Information request to verify Clive's security licenses. If they're expired or falsified, we publish that too. And I want the girl's story, on her terms." "She's underage," Adam said. "She deserves privacy." "Then we'll anonymize it," Camille agreed. "But this story's going wide." Max muted the phone. "You okay with that?" Adam nodded. "The world should know. What about Emily? We ask her. No pressure. But I think she'd want other girls to know they're not alone." That night, Emily sat with Adam and Max at the kitchen table. Bear lay by her feet, alert as ever. She listened as Max explained what the story could do, how it might expose others involved, shake loose old records, maybe even reopen the investigation from last year, the one that ended in silence. Emily was quiet for a long time. Then she looked up. "If I tell it, and they find me again—" "They won't," Adam promised. "We'll protect you." Emily reached down, her hand resting gently on Bear's head. "Then yes," she said. "Let's tell it all." The next 48 hours moved in a blur. Camille flew in to meet them personally, filming Emily's interview in a controlled setting, voice altered, face blurred. Adam supplied every second of audio and video. Max handled digital security, ensuring encrypted transmission of evidence to multiple outlets in case someone tried to bury it. Bear stayed close throughout, a silent anchor for the girl who had once been locked in a trailer, waiting for someone, anyone, to care. And then, on a quiet Monday morning, the story hit. Inside a hidden trafficking network, the teen survivor, the security contractor, and the dog that led rescuers to the truth. It went viral in hours. By nightfall, Clive Rourke's name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Investigations were reopened. A warrant was issued. Law enforcement raided the trailer location, now abandoned, but recovered hard drives and documents, confirming connections to more victims across state lines. Adam received dozens of messages, some anonymous, others from families of missing teens. One simply said, "Thank you. I think you just saved my daughter." Emily's face never appeared in the footage, but her voice, steady, brave, carried across millions of screens. And Bear. Bear was hailed as a hero. People asked if he was for adoption, if he'd be trained further, if he'd be honored in some way. Adam answered them all with the same response. He already is. The aftermath swept through their lives faster than anyone expected. With Camille Ruiz's story spreading, law enforcement sprang into action, uncovering further hidden layers of Clive's operation. Adam watched the coverage numbly from the couch, Bear curled by his side. Emily stayed close too, quietly absorbing the news reports, as if to reassure herself it was really over. It felt surreal. Overnight, Clive had gone from untouchable to one of the country's most wanted fugitives. Photos of his face filled news sites and social media. Tip lines flooded with calls from across multiple states. Max coordinated closely with federal agents. passing along evidence carefully collected from the trailer and Adam's recordings. Each hour revealed more depth to the case: trafficking networks, money trails, and false identities. But something nagged at Adam, a feeling that this wasn't entirely resolved. Not yet. That evening, Bear began acting strangely. He paced the apartment restlessly, nose in the air, pawing anxiously at the front door. "What is it, buddy?" Adam knelt beside him, gently scratching his head, but Bear didn't relax. Instead, he gave a low, urgent growl, a sound Adam had never heard from him. Emily stepped close, face tense. "Is something wrong?" Bear pawed at the door again, turning his eyes urgently up to Adam. Max rose slowly, watching carefully. "He senses something." Adam quickly grabbed his jacket. "I'll take him out." "Probably just nerves." But Bear was relentless, tugging Adam forward, his movements precise and deliberate. They reached the building's rear entrance, stepping out into the cool evening air. The lot behind Adam's apartment building was empty, but Bear immediately went still, ears upright, nose working furiously. Then Adam caught it too: cigarette smoke, cheap and acrid. The same scent that had led him to Emily, to the trailer, Clive's brand. His pulse quickened. Bear stiffened beside him, eyes locked on a black sedan parked near the corner of the lot, lights off. The windows were tinted, the vehicle idling quietly. Clive. Adam quietly reached for the phone in his pocket, quickly texting Max, "Come downstairs." "Now." He edged closer, heart hammering. As he approached the car, the driver's door opened slowly, revealing a familiar figure. Clive Rourke stepped out, looking gaunt and hollow-eyed, his face barely illuminated by a nearby streetlight. In one hand, he held a revolver. "I thought you'd have more sense," Clive drawled coldly. "Didn't think you'd get yourself involved twice, especially not because of some dog." Bear let out a deep, threatening growl, low enough to raise the hairs on Adam's neck. Clive sneered, gesturing with the gun. "Quiet him down, or I will." Adam raised one cautious hand, signaling Bear to sit. Reluctantly, the dog obeyed, though his gaze remained locked onto Clive. "You're done, Clive," Adam said, voice even. "Everyone knows, every detail." "You can't run from this." Clive shook his head slowly, almost mournfully. "You don't understand. It wasn't supposed to get this messy. The girl was a mistake, but I can still fix it." He raised the revolver slightly. "Hand over your phone. We're going for a ride." "Sayu, me and your little friend here." Adam hesitated, stalling. Every second counted. Max was coming. He had to trust that. His eyes darted briefly to Bear, who sat tensely at his feet, ready to spring. Adam slowly reached into his jacket, pretending to cooperate. But instead of pulling out his phone, he discreetly activated the panic button Max had provided, sending a silent alert to local authorities. Clive noticed the movement. "What are you—" Before he finished, Bear launched forward, barreling into Clive's legs with surprising force. The revolver fired wildly as Clive stumbled back, hitting the ground hard. Adam lunged forward, wrenching the gun from his grip and tossing it aside. Within seconds, Max burst from the apartment building, flashlight cutting through the darkness. The distant sound of sirens grew louder. Max had alerted authorities as soon as Adam stepped outside. Clive, breathing hard and clearly injured, scrambled backward. "You think you've won? They'll come for me. I know too much." Adam stood over him, voice cold. "You had a choice. You chose to hurt people. Now you'll face every consequence." Clive fell silent, eyes dropping to the ground. Minutes later, police cars screeched into the lot, lights illuminating the scene. Officers quickly restrained Clive, while others secured the revolver and searched the car, pulling out stacks of fake IDs and a laptop filled with incriminating files. Max approached Adam, placing a steady hand on his shoulder. "Are you okay?" Adam exhaled slowly, looking down at Bear, who had calmly returned to his side. "We're okay." Max nodded firmly. "It's finally over." As police took Clive into custody, Adam knelt beside Bear, hands trembling as he stroked the dog's fur. Bear tilted his head, brown eyes calm and knowing. "You did it, Bear," Adam whispered softly. "You saved us, all of us." Emily appeared behind them, escorted by a detective. Her eyes widened at the scene. but she quickly reached down to hug Bear tightly, whispering quiet gratitude. Adam felt his chest unclench for the first time in days. Tonight had shown him something clearly. Bear hadn't just rescued Emily, or even himself. He had rescued Adam, too, led him toward courage, toward something worth fighting for. And though Bear would never know the depth of what he'd done, Adam did. He leaned in, resting his forehead gently against the puppy's head. "Thank you, Bear," he whispered again. Bear responded with a soft wag, eyes gentle. As sirens faded, replaced by calm voices and careful evidence collection, Adam understood with crystal clarity. Bear hadn't only changed everything, he'd saved everything, and Adam vowed he would never forget. The following days felt surreal, like waking from a dream and finding reality permanently altered. With Clive now in custody and the extent of his operation exposed, Adam's small world shifted dramatically. Media requests flooded in. Journalists sought exclusive interviews, and police remained ever present, gathering statements and evidence. Yet amid this chaos, one element held steady: Bear. Despite the sudden attention, Bear remained quietly steadfast, staying close to Emily and Adam, offering silent reassurance simply by being there. Each day, as news cameras lingered outside the apartment building, Bear stood quietly beside Emily, reassuring her with his calm presence. One sunny afternoon, Adam received an unexpected phone call. "This is Detective Warren from the Regional Trafficking Task Force," the voice announced gently. "We'd like to meet with you and Emily in person, and the dog, Bear, right?" "Yes," Adam said slowly. "Is something wrong?" "No, quite the opposite," the detective replied warmly. "We'd like to honor him formally for what he's done. This isn't just a media story, it's made a real difference." Adam glanced over at Bear, currently napping in a patch of sunlight on the rug. "Bear, he doesn't exactly love crowds." Detective Warren chuckled softly. "We understand, but I think it's important for everyone, especially those affected by this, to see that sometimes heroes come from unexpected places." After some thought, Adam agreed. A few days later, he found himself standing in front of City Hall with Emily, Max, and Bear. They were escorted inside to a small, quiet conference room, away from reporters and cameras. There, Detective Warren and a small team of task force officers waited. The detective knelt to greet Bear, gently offering him a handshake, which Bear accepted graciously with a single paw. Warren smiled warmly. "Remarkable dog," Adam nodded. "You have no idea." Detective Warren straightened, addressing the room. "We rarely see cases unfold like this. It's extraordinary enough that someone intervened, but the idea that a lost dog would actively lead to a victim's rescue is unprecedented." Emily stepped forward, softly speaking up. "Bear didn't just find me by accident. He knew where to go. He knew I needed help. I think he might have been through something similar." Adam nodded quietly. "He recognized your pain." Detective Warren's eyes were kind. "That's exactly why we wanted to meet. Because what Bear did, it gives people hope. We've had survivors and families reaching out, inspired by your story, and we want to officially recognize him." From a nearby table, Warren lifted a small bronze medal inscribed simply with the word "Hero." He gently slipped it onto a collar, kneeling once again to place it around Bear's neck. Bear tilted his head, examining the medal curiously. Emily smiled softly, tears glistening in her eyes. The detective spoke quietly. "It's not much compared to what he deserves, but we hope it reminds you and everyone that heroes come in every form." Adam felt a surge of pride as Bear stood calmly, the medal gleaming softly on his chest. Cameras quietly clicked, capturing the moment. Afterwards, Max approached Adam privately. "There's something else." Adam glanced at him cautiously. "Is there more trouble?" "No," Max said firmly. "We've identified more victims, several young women, who Clive and his network targeted. They're all safe now, thanks to what you and Bear started. Thanks to Emily's courage, and Clive's entire operation has been dismantled, with connections now being unraveled in multiple states." Adam exhaled deeply, relief flooding him. "That's incredible." Max smiled slightly. "None of this would have happened if Bear hadn't found you. He didn't just rescue Emily. He exposed a web that had been operating quietly for years. Adam looked back at Bear, who sat quietly next to Emily, eyes gentle and attentive, as if aware of the praise but unaffected by it. Back at home that evening, Adam placed Bear's medal gently on the mantel. Bear sniffed it briefly, then returned to his favorite place at Emily's side. She hugged him tightly, whispering quiet gratitude, her eyes filled with hope rather than fear. In the days that followed, Bear's story continued to spread, becoming a symbol of resilience and hope. Donations poured into animal shelters, search and rescue organizations, and support programs for survivors of trafficking, all sparked by Bear's story. The small Rottweiler puppy who'd once been discarded had become a beacon of courage. Late one evening, Emily sat quietly beside Adam on the apartment steps, watching Bear play gently in the grass under the fading sunset. She spoke softly, her voice steady. "I always wondered why he chose you that day in the park." Adam smiled gently. "Maybe he sensed I needed him as much as he needed me." Emily nodded. "I think he did. I think he knew you were brave enough, strong enough to help him." Adam gazed thoughtfully at Bear, who suddenly stopped playing and trotted back to them. The puppy climbed carefully into Emily's lap, eyes meeting Adam's with a quiet knowing. He reached out, gently stroking Bear's fur. "You know, people keep saying how we saved him, but the truth is, Bear saved us." Emily nodded quietly, gently petting Bear's head. Adam leaned back, feeling a rare sense of peace and gratitude. Though their lives had been profoundly changed, it felt right. Like a necessary shift had happened, bringing clarity and purpose he'd never expected, all because of a lost puppy who had hidden depths no one had seen. That night, as Emily drifted into peaceful sleep and Bear lay quietly beside her, Adam sat nearby watching over them both, and he knew beyond doubt that sometimes heroes aren't found, they find you, and Bear had found them exactly when they needed him most. As weeks passed, life gradually regained a comforting rhythm. News coverage quieted down, replaced by steady routines. Bear's daily walks, meals carefully fed in the kitchen, and quiet evenings spent in gentle companionship. Emily began counseling, slowly regaining the bright spirit that had nearly been lost. Max returned to his private investigative work, now busier than ever as more people reached out for his help. Yet amid this newfound stability, Adam felt something unresolved. One bright morning, while Bear rested contentedly on the sunlit porch, Adam quietly approached Emily. She sat with her feet tucked beneath her, flipping thoughtfully through a veterinary textbook she'd borrowed from the local library. "Emily," he began gently, "I think Bear deserves to see something." Emily glanced up, curiosity sparking in her eyes. "See what?" "The place where this started. The park bench where I found him." Adam paused, feeling suddenly hesitant. "I think he needs closure as much as we do." Emily studied Bear, who lay peacefully, eyes half closed, enjoying the warmth. "I think you're right. I think it might help him, help all of us." They set out that afternoon, walking slowly through the neighborhood toward the quiet park. Bear trotted happily between them, occasionally stopping to sniff familiar trees, his medal glinting softly in the afternoon sun. When they reached the old bench, Adam slowed, heart heavy with memory. Bear immediately perked up, tail stiffening slightly as if sensing the importance of this place. Adam knelt beside Bear, gently running a hand over his fur. "You remember this spot, buddy?" Bear sniffed around carefully, then paused beneath the bench, nudging the patch of earth where Adam had first found him, scared and alone. Adam knelt there too, reliving the memory vividly, the trembling puppy, those big, scared eyes. "Someone left you here," Adam murmured, feeling a pang of anger and sadness. "Someone who didn't deserve you." Bear tilted his head, looking directly into Adam's eyes with quiet understanding. Emily watched them carefully, moved by the exchange. But maybe it wasn't about who left him. Maybe it was always about who found him. Adam looked up, surprised by the wisdom in her quiet statement. He nodded slowly. Maybe it was. Bear padded around the bench, sniffing again. Then he paused, a low whine slipping from his throat. Adam followed his gaze, suddenly noticing a faint inscription on the bench he hadn't noticed before, faded but legible beneath layers of peeling paint. "Hope is always closer than you think." Adam's breath caught. Emily stepped forward, gently tracing the words with her fingertips. "It was here all along," she said softly. "Maybe Bear was meant to find you here. Maybe we were all supposed to end up exactly where we did." They sat quietly together on the bench, Bear stretched comfortably at their feet, as the afternoon sun cast a golden glow across the park. It felt like a conclusion to one story, and the quiet, hopeful beginning of another. When they returned home later, Adam received a call from Detective Warren. "Thought you'd want to know," the detective began. "Clive accepted a plea deal, life in prison. There won't be a trial, no dragging survivors through court. He's finished." Adam felt a wave of relief and quiet justice. "Thank you for letting me know." Warren's voice softened. "Thank you, Adam. You, Emily, and Bear made sure this case was never forgotten." As he ended the call, Adam felt a deep sense of gratitude. Justice had finally come full circle. The nightmare Clive had orchestrated was over. That night, after dinner, Max stopped by unexpectedly, carrying a small envelope. He greeted Adam warmly, stepping quietly into the living room. "I thought you'd want to see this," Max said, offering him the envelope. Adam opened it carefully, sliding out a handwritten note from one of the families impacted by Bear's rescue. "Dear Bear, Adam, Emily, and everyone who helped, you don't know us, but you saved our family. Our daughter is home, safe, because of what you did. We hope you always remember what heroes you truly are. Thank you, from the bottom of our hearts." Adam handed the note gently to Emily, whose eyes filled with quiet tears. She wrapped her arms around Bear, burying her face gently against his neck. "You did this, Bear," she whispered softly. "This is your legacy." Bear simply wagged his tail, as if to say, "It was all in a day's work." Later that evening, as Adam and Emily sat quietly in the living room, Bear sprawled comfortably across their laps. Max smiled thoughtfully from across the room. "I've seen a lot of things in this line of work," Max said finally, "but nothing quite like this. That puppy, Bear, he's special, the best of all of us." Adam nodded quietly. "He taught us something important, that real strength isn't loud. It isn't always visible. It's quiet. It's steady." Emily leaned in, gently stroking Bear's ears. "And it always shows up exactly when you need it." Adam smiled softly. "Exactly." As night fell, peace settled over their home. Bear dozed contentedly, secure in the love that surrounded him. Though he'd never asked to become a hero, Bear had quietly reshaped every life he touched. He'd healed wounds, restored hope, and brought justice where others had failed. And as Adam watched Bear's peaceful breathing, he realized the puppy had given him the greatest gift of all: purpose, a renewed belief in humanity, resilience, and quiet courage. He leaned down, pressing his forehead gently to Bear's. "Thank you," he whispered, "for rescuing us." And somewhere deep inside, he knew Bear understood. The passage of time softened the edges of their painful memories, transforming what once felt unbearable into something manageable, even meaningful. Bear continued to flourish under Adam and Emily's care, growing stronger and happier, gradually leaving behind the scars of his early life. Each day brought subtle changes, a confidence in Bear's movements, fewer cautious glances at strangers, and an unshakable sense of belonging. Emily's own recovery progressed as well. With consistent support and counseling, she soon resumed her studies, enrolling in veterinary assistant classes inspired directly by her bond with Bear. Adam watched with pride as she studied late into the night, determined not only to reclaim her own life, but to dedicate it toward helping animals like the one who had rescued her. One quiet afternoon, while Adam organized the files Max had left behind, he stumbled across a set of papers he hadn't seen before. They detailed the initial investigation into Bear's background, meticulously tracked by Max's contacts. Surprised, Adam read carefully, discovering something astonishing. Bear had come from a legitimate breeder originally, intended for training as a service dog. But after a mysterious theft from a kennel facility months before, he'd vanished into Clive's network. Adam read with mounting disbelief as the breeder described Bear's litter. Highly intelligent pups, chosen specifically for search and rescue training. Bear hadn't merely stumbled into Adam's life by chance. He had been born and raised, and from the start, with an instinctive drive to help and protect others. Heart-pounding, Adam showed Emily the paperwork. "He was always special," she said, gently petting Bear as he lay curled at her side. "He just got lost along the way." Adam nodded, looking deeply into Bear's calm eyes. Maybe not lost. Maybe he was exactly where he needed to be, at exactly the right moment. Emily's eyes glistened. Like us. Word about Bear's true origin quickly spread, reinforcing the public's admiration. News outlets reported his full story, emphasizing how even animals intended for good purposes could end up in the wrong hands, but how hope and courage could still triumph. Donations flooded into service dog organizations in Bear's honor, sparking new initiatives that focused specifically on training dogs for emotional support and search and rescue efforts. A few weeks later, Adam and Emily were invited to visit the facility where Bear had been born. Driving through rolling countryside, Bear sat calmly between them, occasionally glancing up with curiosity as if recognizing familiar landscapes and scents. At the facility, a woman greeted them warmly, introducing herself as Lauren Ellis, the original breeder and trainer who had raised Bear until he was stolen. "I never thought I'd see him again," Lauren said softly, eyes misting as she knelt to greet Bear, who sniffed her gently and then wagged his tail as if recognizing a long-lost friend. Lauren stood slowly, wiping her eyes. "When we heard what he'd done, rescuing Emily, exposing that network, it felt like a miracle." Adam smiled softly. "He's done more than you can imagine. For all of us." Lauren nodded gently. "We'd like to honor him. And also, we have something special, someone special for him to meet." She led them inside, down a bright corridor lined with large windows, each room filled with puppies playing or training. At the last room, she opened the door softly. Inside, several young Rottweiler puppies played happily. One puppy immediately trotted over, ears perked up, curious and alert. "Bear," Lauren said gently, "meet your little sister. She's from the same lineage, selected specifically to carry on the work we intended for you." Bear sniffed the puppy cautiously, tail wagging tentatively. The puppy pawed gently at Bear, playful but respectful. Watching the exchange, Adam felt something deep inside, gratitude, amazement, and an overwhelming sense of rightness. Bear had found his way home, bringing closure not just for himself but for everyone involved. Before leaving, Lauren handed Adam a small framed certificate. "We named the new puppy after him, Hope's courageous bear. We'll call her Hope after the message he gave all of us." Adam took the certificate, throat tight with emotion. Back home, Bear lay contentedly by Adam's side, tired from the long journey. Emily gently stroked his ears, smiling softly. "Do you think he understood?" she asked quietly. Adam glanced down at Bear, whose eyes opened briefly, looking at them both before drifting peacefully back to sleep. "I think he understands more than we realize," Adam said softly. "He's always known exactly where to be, exactly what to do. He brought us together. He gave us purpose, hope, and courage." That evening, as Bear rested quietly, Adam carefully placed the certificate next to Bear's medal on the mantel, symbols of resilience and bravery side by side. Watching the puppy sleep peacefully, Adam felt a quiet certainty, one he hadn't known in years, that life had unfolded exactly as it was meant to, despite all the pain and struggle along the way. Emily moved quietly beside him, gently placing a hand on his shoulder. "This feels like an ending." Adam shook his head slowly. "Not an ending, just a new beginning. Bear's story has always been bigger than any one moment. It's about hope, about choosing bravery, even when it's terrifying." Emily smiled softly, leaning gently against him. "And about finding exactly who you need, exactly when you need them." Adam nodded quietly, eyes resting gently on Bear. "Exactly." That night, Bear dreamed softly, legs twitching slightly, perhaps chasing phantom butterflies or running free in fields. Adam sat beside him, quietly reflecting on their journey, the twists of fate, the struggles, and the unbreakable bonds formed along the way. No matter how many years passed, Adam knew Bear's legacy would always endure, not just through medals and certificates, but in every life touched, in every act of courage inspired by a small puppy who had once been lost, but who had ultimately found his way home. As months unfolded gently into a full year, Bear's story continued to ripple outward, quietly transforming countless lives along the way. Adam and Emily found themselves invited regularly to speak at schools, community centers, and support groups, sharing their experience to educate and inspire others. Each time, Bear accompanied them, quietly sitting by their side, patient and dignified, his very presence speaking volumes. One sunny spring morning, nearly a year since Adam first found Bear beneath the park bench, they received a special invitation, an annual ceremony honoring animals whose bravery had profoundly impacted human lives. It was held in a beautiful park, a gathering of community members, local leaders, families, and survivors. Bear sat calmly beside Adam and Emily, wearing a special collar, his bronze medal glinting gently beneath the sunlight. Lauren Ellis, Bear's breeder and original trainer, joined them as an honored guest. As they took their seats, the ceremony's host, a gentle-voiced woman named Anna Stevens, approached the microphone and spoke clearly and warmly. "We're here today to celebrate courage, not just human courage, but the extraordinary courage shown by animals who remind us what bravery truly means. Among us today is Bear, a Rottweiler puppy whose remarkable journey has inspired thousands." Bear perked up slightly at the sound of his name, ears attentive. Adam gently stroked his back, offering quiet reassurance. Anna continued warmly. "Bear was originally destined to become a service dog, trained from birth to help others, but a terrible twist of fate led him to be stolen and exploited. Despite this, Bear's instinct to protect and care remained unbroken. He escaped captivity, found Adam, and led him to rescue Emily, exposing an entire network of human traffickers and helping save countless lives." Quiet applause rippled through the audience, respectful and deeply moved. Today, Bear's courage isn't just being recognized, it's being honored with a new tradition. Every year, this community will present the Bear Award, given to an animal or individual whose bravery and compassion make an extraordinary difference. Anna smiled warmly, looking directly at Bear. "Bear, you have given us more than you'll ever know. Hope, courage, and inspiration." Emily gently squeezed Adam's hand, her eyes glistening. After the ceremony concluded, countless people approached to meet Bear, survivors and families, animal lovers and rescue workers, each touched by Bear's gentle presence and quiet strength. But among them was one very special visitor, a young woman named Sarah, accompanied by her family. She approached carefully, emotion shimmering in her eyes. Sarah's mother spoke softly. "Sarah was missing for 2 months last year. Authorities found her because of what Bear did. Your actions helped investigators break open the entire network." Sarah knelt slowly beside Bear, gently running her fingers through his fur, tears slipping quietly down her face. "Thank you," she whispered softly, her voice trembling. Bear gently pressed his head into her hand, sensing her emotion. Adam felt a lump form in his throat, deeply moved. This was why Bear had come into his life, not just to rescue Emily, but to rescue countless others he'd never even met. After the crowd finally dispersed, Adam and Emily walked Bear quietly back to the spot in the park where it all began. The very same bench, now fully restored and newly painted. Bear trotted up to it immediately, sniffing gently at the freshly polished wood. Beside it stood a small newly installed plaque, shining quietly in the sunlight. On this spot, Bear, a courageous Rottweiler puppy, was found. Through his bravery, lives were rescued, hope was restored, and courage was awakened. Let his story remind us all hope is always closer than you think. Adam sat slowly beside Bear on the bench, Emily taking a seat next to them. For a moment, they simply absorbed the peacefulness, reflecting on the incredible journey that had brought them here. Emily spoke softly, breaking the quiet gently. "Do you think he understands what he's done, what he means to all these people?" Adam considered carefully, gazing at Bear, whose calm eyes looked back at him with quiet understanding. "I think he understands enough. I think he knows he's loved." Emily leaned gently against Adam's shoulder, smiling quietly. "I think you're right." Bear lay quietly, his chin resting peacefully on Adam's knee. watching the park around him with gentle eyes. He was no longer the lost, frightened puppy Adam had first found trembling beneath this bench. Now he was strong, confident, a beacon of courage for countless people whose lives he'd touched. As sunlight gently bathed the park, Adam felt a deep sense of closure and gratitude. He knew that life would always bring challenges, but with Bear by their side, they could face anything. Bear had taught them all something profound, that courage isn't about being fearless, but about choosing hope and bravery, even when fear feels overwhelming. That evening at home, Adam sat quietly by the window, Bear resting gently at his feet. He carefully took out his old journal, the one he'd kept throughout this journey, and wrote one final entry. A year ago, Bear was lost and alone. I thought I was rescuing him. But the truth is, he rescued me. He rescued Emily. He rescued all of us. Because of him, I believe now that hope truly is always closer than we think. And wherever we are, whatever happens next, I know Bear's courage will always guide us. He closed the journal gently, feeling a profound sense of peace settle within him. Outside, stars began to gently illuminate the night sky. Adam glanced down at Bear, who slept peacefully, breathing softly, safe and secure. Whispering quietly into the calm night, Adam smiled softly. Thank you, Bear, for everything. And though Bear couldn't speak, somehow Adam knew deep within his heart that Bear understood perfectly. Because some things don't need words to be expressed. They're felt in every quiet act of courage, in every hopeful heartbeat, and in the silent, enduring bonds formed between those who rescue each other. And in the quiet darkness, Bear's peaceful breathing reassured Adam once again. They were exactly where they needed to be. A gentle year turned into another, each day deepening the bonds between Adam, Emily, and Bear. Together, they had weathered storms few could imagine and emerged not just intact, but profoundly transformed. Life continued to move forward, guided by quiet routines, morning walks with Bear through dew-covered parks, quiet evenings reading on the porch, and weekends spent visiting animal shelters and support groups, quietly advocating for change and hope. But there was something new now, a sense of peace that had settled deeply within each of them, quiet and reassuring. Emily completed her veterinary assistant certification, graduating with quiet determination. She soon found meaningful work at the very animal clinic where Adam had first brought Bear after rescuing him, completing a circle that felt beautifully meant to be. Adam, inspired by Bear's quiet bravery, became actively involved in community advocacy, joining local efforts against trafficking and helping to establish new support networks for survivors. Together, he and Max expanded their outreach, quietly yet resolutely building a powerful legacy of justice and compassion. And Bear became the quiet heart of it all, gently guiding their lives, steadfast and calm. People continued to recognize him occasionally, warmly greeting him as the hero he was. Yet Bear himself remained quietly unaffected by fame or attention. His happiness was simple: family, comfort, and quiet love. One cool autumn evening, Adam, Emily, and Bear returned to the park bench once more, marking the anniversary of Bear's rescue. Leaves gently rustled in the wind, gold and crimson swirling softly around them as twilight painted the sky in gentle pastels. They sat together quietly, watching as Bear trotted around the bench, sniffing familiar scents and pawing gently at the earth. Then Bear paused, looking up at them, eyes deep and soulful, quietly communicating what words never could. Adam knelt gently beside him, smiling softly. You changed everything, Bear. You gave us a new life. Bear pressed his head gently against Adam's palm, eyes closing briefly in peaceful understanding. Emily moved quietly beside them, gently placing her hand on Bear's back. And you showed me that courage isn't about never feeling afraid. It's about standing up even when you do. Bear tilted his head slightly, eyes calm and knowing. As they prepared to leave, they noticed a small group quietly approaching the bench. Sarah, the young woman Bear's actions had helped rescue, accompanied by her family. Sarah stepped forward gently, eyes bright. Bear, she said quietly, voice steady and heartfelt. We wanted to say thank you again for what you did, and to show you someone who wouldn't be here without you. From behind her, parents stepped a small, gentle puppy, a Rottweiler puppy, curious and playful. "This is Courage," Sarah said softly. "We adopted him from the same breeder as you, Bear. He'll be trained to help survivors, too, just like you." Bear sniffed Courage gently, tail wagging softly, as if recognizing the profound gift he had inspired. Adam watched quietly, deeply moved, as Courage pawed playfully at Bear, full of youthful energy and curiosity. He looked at Sarah, seeing strength and hope where fear once had been, recognizing Bear's legacy quietly blossoming before his eyes. After heartfelt goodbyes, Adam, Emily, and Bear walked quietly home together, guided gently by the warm glow of streetlights and the soft sounds of the night. That evening, Adam quietly prepared Bear's bed, fluffing his blanket gently, ensuring his comfort. Bear curled into the softness with a quiet sigh, eyes gently closing. As Bear drifted to sleep, Adam and Emily sat quietly nearby, reflecting softly. Emily spoke first, voice quiet yet steady. "It's amazing how far we've come." Adam nodded softly. "And it all started with him." She smiled gently, eyes full of quiet gratitude. "Bear showed us what courage truly looks like. He didn't just save us physically. He showed us how to find strength inside ourselves, even when everything felt impossible." Adam reached out gently, holding Emily's hand. "And he showed us how to hope again." As the quiet of evening deepened, Adam and Emily moved softly toward the porch, leaving Bear sleeping peacefully in the warm glow of the living room lamp. Beneath the soft starlight, Adam felt profound gratitude settle gently inside him, quiet and sure. Bear's journey had been unexpected and challenging, yet it had led them exactly where they belonged. Adam reflected softly, eyes gazing upward at the gentle stars illuminating the night sky. It's incredible how life unfolds, how a chance moment, a lost puppy beneath a bench, could become something so meaningful. Emily leaned gently against him, smiling softly. "Maybe it wasn't chance at all. Maybe it was always meant to be." He nodded quietly, eyes gentle. "I think you're right." Together, beneath the quiet, starlit sky, Adam and Emily felt their journey quietly resolve, peaceful and fulfilling. They had faced unimaginable darkness, and emerged not broken but stronger. And through it all, Bear had quietly shown them the way. That night, Adam took out his journal once again, gently writing a final entry, feeling quiet closure settle gently within him. Courage isn't about the absence of fear. It's about choosing to face it, choosing hope over despair. Bear taught us that. He changed our lives not just by what he did, but by how he lived, quietly brave, gently strong, always loving. And because of him, we found ourselves again. Closing the journal gently, Adam quietly returned to Bear's side, softly stroking the puppy's fur, feeling profound peace. "You gave us everything," he whispered gently. "And we promise we'll carry your courage forward." Bear's eyes gently opened, gazing deeply into Adam's, quietly knowing. In that quiet, perfect moment, Adam understood fully. Their journey was no longer defined by what had happened, it was defined by what they chose next. By choosing courage, hope, and quiet strength, guided always by Bear's gentle example. And beneath the quiet stars illuminating the peaceful night, Adam whispered gently one final, heartfelt thank you. "Rest easy, Bear. Your courage lives forever." Bear's eyes closed gently, breathing soft and peaceful, knowing he was home, safe, loved, and forever remembered. And Adam knew, deep in his heart, they had found exactly what Bear had led them to all along: hope, courage, and peace. Life had finally seemed peaceful, stable. Adam felt a quiet certainty that the nightmare he'd survived with Emily and Bear had truly ended. But then, on one chilly autumn afternoon, his phone buzzed, and everything changed again. A short text from Detective Warren read simply, "Need you at station urgently. Clive asking to speak only to you. Please come immediately." Adam's stomach tightened instantly. The mention of Clive's name sparked a deep dread, yet curiosity and a sense of duty compelled him to go. He quickly explained the message to Emily, who turned pale but gave a quiet nod. "Bear goes too," she said softly, voice firm. Adam gently stroked Bear's head, his calm eyes steady as ever. "Of course." Within half an hour, Adam arrived at the police station, Bear by his side. Detective Warren met him at the front door, his expression grave. We think Clive's ready to reveal something big. He claims there's evidence of other high-ranking accomplices, but he insists on talking directly to you. Adam exhaled deeply, steadying himself. Let's do this. Detective Warren led him to a small interrogation room. Inside, Clive Rourke sat shackled to a table, a police guard standing quietly behind him. Clive's face was thinner, eyes darker and more hollow than Adam remembered. Didn't think you'd come, Clive sneered softly. His gaze shifted down to Bear, his expression briefly unreadable before turning cold. Still got that mutt, I see. Why am I here, Clive? Adam's voice was firm, steady. Clive leaned forward slightly, eyes intense. I've got information, names, details. But first, we need to talk alone. Detective Warren immediately shook his head. That's not possible. Clive's eyes narrowed dangerously, jaw tightening. Suddenly, with alarming speed, Clive lunged back, throwing his weight into the police guard behind him. The officer stumbled backward, momentarily losing his balance. Before anyone could react, Clive snatched the officer's revolver from its holster, aiming it directly at Adam. The room erupted into chaos. Detective Warren shouted, reaching instinctively for his own weapon, but Clive's voice cut sharply across the confusion. "Nobody moves!" Clive yelled, his hand trembling slightly as he pointed the gun steadily at Adam's chest. His eyes burned with desperation and rage. Bear, sensing immediate danger, stood rigidly by Adam's side, a low growl rumbling from deep within his chest. "Easy, Bear," Adam murmured softly, pulse racing. Clive's face twisted into a bitter smile. "Should have killed that dog when I had the chance. Never imagined he'd ruin everything." "Clive," Adam said carefully, keeping his voice steady, "this won't solve anything. Put the gun down." "Too late for that," Clive snapped, voice shaking with anger. "You destroyed me, my life and everything I built. It ends here, Adam, it ends now." Adam's heart pounded, the world slowing around him. He braced himself, eyes locked onto the barrel aimed squarely at his chest. Then, in a flash, Clive's finger tightened on the trigger. At that instant, Bear lunged forward, his powerful body launching into the air toward Clive with unshakable determination. A deafening gunshot shattered the room's tense silence. "Bear!" Adam shouted, his voice raw with anguish. The dog landed hard, collapsing onto the cold floor. Adam fell to his knees beside Bear, his heart tearing at the sight. A crimson stain darkened Bear's fur as he lay quietly, breathing shallowly, eyes blinking slowly up at Adam. Detective Warren and several officers instantly tackled Clive, wrenching the gun from his grip and pinning him down. But Adam hardly noticed, his entire focus on Bear's gentle, pain-filled eyes. "Help him!" Adam pleaded desperately, glancing up at Warren. "Please, he needs a vet." "Now!" Warren barked orders urgently into his radio, calling for immediate medical assistance. Adam gently cradled Bear's head, whispering softly, "Stay with me, Bear. Please, stay with me." Bear's breathing was shallow, eyes blinking slowly as he looked up at Adam with quiet trust. Adam felt tears stinging his eyes, his heart breaking. Moments later, veterinary paramedics burst through the door, rushing Bear to an animal hospital just minutes away. Adam followed desperately, heart in agony, praying silently for Bear's life to be spared. At the clinic, Adam paced anxiously, each passing minute excruciating. Emily arrived quickly, her eyes wide and fearful, embracing Adam tightly. Hours passed in agonizing uncertainty, until finally a veterinarian approached quietly. "He's stable now," the vet said softly. But it was very close. The bullet narrowly missed vital organs. "He's resting now. He's going to survive." Relief overwhelmed Adam, nearly bringing him to his knees. Emily hugged him again, both sharing tears of profound gratitude. In Bear's quiet hospital room, Adam sat by his bedside, gently stroking Bear's fur. Bear slowly opened his eyes, gazing weakly but steadily at Adam. "You saved me again, Bear," Adam whispered softly, voice thick with emotion. "You've always been the real hero." Bear blinked slowly, quietly placing his paw over Adam's hand, as if saying he understood perfectly. Days later, Clive's desperate act was headline news. sealing his fate permanently behind bars. His final violent act had exposed more connections, uncovering corrupt officials once hidden behind layers of deceit. Through it all, Bear's courage shone brighter than ever. Stories of his bravery flooded the media, touching countless lives and inspiring communities nationwide. The small puppy Adam once found beneath a park bench had once again proven himself more than anyone imagined, a true hero, selfless and courageous. And as Bear recovered gently, surrounded by love, Adam understood profoundly. Bear hadn't just rescued Emily or other survivors, he had rescued Adam too, teaching him what real courage truly meant. That quiet courage would forever define their lives, guiding them always forward, towards hope, justice, and lasting peace. In the weeks that followed, life gradually regained its calm rhythm. Bear's strength returned steadily, his recovery a powerful testament to resilience and quiet bravery. Adam and Emily took turns gently caring for him, offering comfort and reassurance, grateful every day for his presence and healing. The media coverage around Bear's heroic sacrifice intensified, but Adam and Emily gently shielded him from undue stress, allowing him space to recover. Flowers, cards, and heartfelt letters arrived daily, reflecting profound gratitude and admiration from a deeply moved community. Bear had touched countless lives, far more than Adam had ever imagined. Detective Warren frequently visited, quietly updating them on the ongoing investigation. Clive's desperate final act had inadvertently exposed the identities of multiple high-ranking accomplices, bringing them swiftly to justice. What had once seemed impossible had become reality, a hidden network unraveled completely. Perpetrators finally held accountable. On a soft, quiet evening, exactly 2 months after the ordeal, Bear was strong enough to walk comfortably again. Adam and Emily took him to their familiar park bench, the very place their story had begun. Bear moved gently but steadily, his steps calm, peaceful, confident once more. They sat quietly together, the evening sun casting a golden, comforting glow. Bear lay at Adam's feet, eyes gently watching the peaceful scene around them. Adam gently stroked Bear's fur, speaking softly, heartfelt. "You changed everything, Bear. Twice you risked your life to save ours. You brought justice and peace, not just to us but to countless others." Bear lifted his head slightly, eyes gentle and knowing, quietly meeting Adam's gaze. Emily gently placed her hand on Adam's, smiling softly. "You showed us what courage truly means. Quiet, steady, unwavering. Because of you, we found the strength to keep going, even when everything seemed hopeless." Bear shifted gently, resting his head peacefully against their legs, quietly acknowledging their gratitude. That evening, as twilight gently painted the sky, they returned home, walking softly beneath quiet stars illuminating their path. Adam felt profound peace settle deeply within him, understanding fully the journey they'd traveled and the strength they'd discovered together. At home, Bear slept gently by the fireplace, breathing softly, secure, loved, and deeply treasured. Adam carefully took out his journal again, gently writing a final, heartfelt entry. "I thought our story had ended long ago, but Bear showed me it was just beginning. He rescued us in every way possible, physically, emotionally, spiritually. He showed us how courage is quiet but powerful, how hope can emerge from darkness. Bear taught me what it truly means to be brave, to love selflessly, and to fight for what's right, even when it's difficult, even when it hurts. His quiet strength changed everything. Because of Bear, we found ourselves again. His legacy will endure forever in every life touched, in every heart inspired." Closing the journal gently, Adam quietly gazed at Bear, heart filled with deep gratitude and love. Whispering softly into the quiet night, Adam smiled warmly. "Thank you, Bear, for everything." Bear opened his eyes gently, meeting Adam's gaze quietly, as if saying, "We did it together." And in that perfect, quiet moment, Adam understood profoundly that courage wasn't loud or flashy. It was quiet, gentle, steadfast. Courage was Bear, selfless, determined, unwavering. Months turned into gentle years. Emily continued her compassionate veterinary work, quietly honoring Bear's legacy through acts of kindness and healing. Adam remained dedicated to advocacy and support for survivors, quietly guided always by Bear's inspiring example. And Bear himself enjoyed peaceful, happy years, cherished deeply by the family he'd courageously rescued. One gentle afternoon, Adam and Emily returned again to the special park bench. Bear calmly walking beside them, older now but quietly content. They sat together, peaceful beneath gently swaying trees, reflecting on their extraordinary journey. Adam spoke softly, voice steady yet emotional. "You showed us, Bear, that true courage is always closer than we think. You changed our lives completely, brought justice, peace, and hope." Emily gently stroked Bear's fur, smiling softly. "You'll always be remembered. Your courage will inspire others forever." Bear looked quietly up at them, eyes gentle, soulful, full of quiet understanding and peace. As they rose to leave, Adam noticed a young family approaching quietly, a father, mother, and young daughter. They recognized Bear immediately, quietly approaching with respectful kindness. The father spoke softly, eyes emotional. "We just wanted to thank you personally. Because of Bear's story, our daughter was inspired to adopt Courage, a puppy from Bear's original breeder. Courage helped her heal after difficult trauma. Bear changed our lives too." Adam gently shook their hands, deeply moved. Bear greeted Courage warmly, sniffing gently, tail wagging softly. Quietly walking home, Adam felt profound peace and gratitude settle within him. Bear's legacy was already quietly spreading, touching new generations, inspiring quiet courage, compassion, and resilience. That night, Adam gently stroked Bear's fur as he slept peacefully, whispering softly, heartfelt, "You'll always be remembered, Bear. You're our hero forever." Bear breathed gently, peaceful, secure, deeply loved. Adam knew then, quietly but profoundly, they had found exactly what Bear had led them to all along: courage, peace, and hope. Their journey was no longer defined by darkness, but by courage, strength, and the quiet, powerful legacy Bear had quietly created. And together, guided always by Bear's quiet bravery, they would forever move forward toward hope, justice, and lasting peace. Thank you for experiencing Bear's powerful and emotional journey with us. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with others who might find courage and inspiration, and subscribe to our channel for more impactful stories like this. Together, let's spread Bear's message that true courage is always closer than we think.